It's Thursday, the 1st of July 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. In today's headlines, the share market finished the financial year up 24%, the best performance in more than 3 decades. Plus, new COVID cases and restrictions announced across the country as the fight over the vaccine rollout heats up. The inquiry into Crown Resorts hears about the gambler who didn't leave the casino for 96 hours. And Telstra sells its towers. Our lead story today, investors on the local share market have experienced their strongest financial year returns in more than 30 years, with the bourse up 24%, or about $560 billion over the past 12 months. It's the best return since the inception of the S&P ASX 200, and the All Ordinaries Index, which has been around for a lot longer, recorded its best return since the 1987 financial year, up 26.4%. The booming annual return was in part because the bourse started at a low point during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, but it also reflected the much better than expected economic rebound, which has pushed the unemployment rate lower and growth rate higher. The banks had a great year, so too the miners. Afterpay, BlueScope Steel and Domino's were among the best. The big supermarkets, gold companies and oil and gas groups all underperformed. The best performer in the 2021 financial year was Chalice Mining, a company that basically got lucky finding a shallow nickel, copper, cobalt, palladium gold deposit. Its share price is up 646% over the year. The worst performer was the A2 Milk Company, which had its market decimated when the Daegu Channel, expats, mostly Chinese, sending products back home, dried up. All in all, a volatile, memorable, and ultimately successful year for investors. Hope you made a mozza. In overseas news, the Chinese Communist Party celebrates 100 years today, with gala celebrations in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, fronted by President Xi Jinping. It's now the second largest economy in the world and is expected to grow at an 8% clip this year. Keep that pace up and it will catch the United States in about a decade. A survey by the Financial Times shows that academic economists expect the US Federal Reserve will lift interest rates twice next year as the US economy rebounds quickly. It follows the leader of the Federal Reserve governors last month who predicted something similar and is adding to the upward pressure on the US dollar. And North Korea officially has no cases of COVID-19. However, leader Kim Jong-un yesterday said a grave incident from quarantine negligence had created a crisis. Mr. Kim had analysed the ignorance, incompetence and irresponsibility of the cadres. His comments suggest there's been an outbreak. As yet, the dictatorship hasn't received any COVID vaccines. Locally, there were 22 new community-transmitted cases of COVID-19 in New South Wales yesterday, of which half were in isolation. The numbers came as 2 Sydney hospitals went into lockdown and the state government introduced compulsory QR codes for supermarkets, gyms, offices, shops and shopping centres, schools and universities. Alice Springs introduced a 72-hour shutdown after an infected man spent several hours at the airport. South Australia announced 5 new cases, triggering some new restrictions in the state, but not a full lockdown. Queensland recorded 3 cases, and Victoria and Western Australia both recorded 1 new case each. Meanwhile, the debate and confusion over the use of AstraZeneca vaccine continued, with Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt saying there'd been no change in medical advice. AstraZeneca is preferred for over 60s and Pfizer for everyone else. The mixed messages aren't helping anyone. Queensland officials yesterday warned against younger Australians taking the AstraZeneca vaccine, accusing the Prime Minister of putting lives in danger. The shocking stories out of the Victorian Royal Commission into Crown Resorts continue to emerge, and yesterday it was told a former doctor and problem gambler spent 96 hours in the casino without leaving. She played baccarat for 4 days, taking naps around poker machines. Commissioner Ray Finkelstein has previously indicated that how the gaming giant manages problem gamblers will influence his decision on whether Crown was suitable to hold a gambling licence in Victoria. It's very hard to understand how no one told the gambler to just go home. Telstra has sold a 49% interest in Telstra Infraco Towers to a consortium of the Future Fund, Commonwealth Superannuation Corporation and Sun Super. The price was $2.8 billion, and 50% of that will be returned to Telstra shareholders when the deal's complete. That triggered a 4.4% jump in Telstra's share price yesterday. The tower's business is a strategic asset and supports Telstra's mobile network. Analysts said the price paid was at the higher end of expectations. It helps that the buyers were Australian with deep pockets. And it's the end of the financial year, and there'll be a raft of changes starting today. The big one is that the superannuation guarantee will increase from 9.5% to 10%, meaning everyone will put more into their retirement savings accounts. There's also an end-of-year rebate for singles and couples earning up to $90,000 and an extension of the low and middle income tax offset. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. Make sure you hit follow so you get it every morning. And if you'd like more detail and more stories, search for our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. We also release a daily interview. Today, we're talking to Matthew Kidman from Centennial Asset Management about the last year in equities. I'll be back later with the afternoon market report. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.